The day my husband died, I thought losing him was the worst thing that could ever happen to me. I was wrong. 11 days later, I stood on my mother's porch with my 2 one-year-old babies asleep in the car and begged for 3 weeks on her couch. She looked at me like I was a burden and told me I was no longer her responsibility. 8 years later, that same woman would walk onto my ranch expecting a share of the fortune I had built without her. My name is Beth Sinclair, and this is the story of how the family that abandoned me taught me what real family actually looks like. My husband Daniel was only 28 when a tractor accident took his life. I was 26 with twin babies, almost no money, and a lease ending in less than 3 weeks. I sat on my kitchen floor that night calculating rent, diapers, food, and truck payments. Every number told me the same thing. I could not survive alone, so I drove to my parents' house. I did not ask for money. I did not ask them to raise my children. I only asked for a couch until I could get back on my feet. My mother refused. She told me I was an adult and needed to handle my own problems. My father stood behind her without saying anything. My brother Travis saw me through his bedroom door and quietly closed it. I carried my babies back to the car and drove until I had to stop at a gas station. Then I called Daniel's mother. Ruth, I did not even ask her for help. I simply told her I was struggling. She asked where I was and said, "Stay there." 40 minutes later, Ruth and her husband Walt arrived. They moved my babies into their truck, wrapped them in a Blue Star quilt, and handed me a hot casserole. I tried to apologize for becoming their problem. Ruth stopped me. She told me I was family now. Those words changed everything. Their 80-acre horse ranch was struggling. The barn needed repairs, the fences were failing, and the bank was waiting. But I had studied equine science for years, and I knew horses. Then I saw Juniper. She was a young bay mare with a slightly crooked front leg. Everyone considered her worthless and planned to sell her. Everyone except me. When I watched her move, I saw something nobody else had noticed. That crooked leg gave her an unusual advantage when stopping and turning. I asked Walt to let me train her. For more than a year, I worked constantly. I trained horses before sunrise, worked odd jobs during the day, cleaned stalls at night, and studied bloodlines whenever I could. Eventually, Juniper entered a competition and placed 3rd out of 41 horses. That little ribbon changed my life. A respected breeder named Vivian Hargrove saw Juniper and recognized what I had discovered. She offered to invest in my breeding program. I accepted carefully, with contracts protecting the bloodline and breeding rights. Then Juniper's first foal was born. He had the same powerful movement. Soon, buyers started calling. One horse became several. The struggling ranch became a successful breeding operation. We repaired the barn, paid the mortgage, and built a business people across the country wanted to be part of. Meanwhile, my parents barely contacted me. Then I accidentally discovered why. My brother Travis forwarded an old email thread that was never meant for me. I read what my parents had written after Daniel's death. My mother had called helping me a bad investment. Then came the sentence that destroyed whatever hope I still had. They had agreed to keep the relationship alive because if my ranch ever became successful, they might want something from me. I finally understood. They had not forgotten me. They had been waiting to see whether I would become valuable. From that moment on, I stopped trying to earn their love. I decided to build something they could never control. 8 years after Daniel died, my business received an unbelievable offer. A major company offered me $100 million for the ranch, brand, facilities, and breeding operation. I accepted. But before the sale closed, I made 3 decisions. First, I created an irrevocable trust for my children. Second, I transferred the original 80 acres and farmhouse to Walt and Ruth, completely free and clear. Third, I created a scholarship foundation in Daniel's name to help young people enter equine science, especially single parents trying to rebuild their lives. Then the news became public. Suddenly, my mother was proud of me. Travis started calling. Father talked about family. The same people who disappeared when I had nothing suddenly wanted to stand beside me when I had everything. They even showed up at my celebration. Nearly 300 people filled the ranch that day. Then I saw my mother, father, and Travis walking through the gate. They had not been invited. My mother smiled at strangers and proudly introduced herself as my mother. Travis positioned himself near the cameras and told reporters that our family had always supported me. They wanted the world to believe they had helped build my success. Then I stepped onto the stage. I thanked everyone who had stood beside me when I had nothing. Then I announced the Scholarship Foundation. After that, I asked Walt and Ruth to stand. I told the crowd that the original ranch had already been transferred to them. The land they had struggled to keep was now theirs forever. Ruth cried. The crowd applauded. Then I looked directly at my parents. My mother froze. Travis went pale. My father looked at the ground. I took a breath and said, "Family is not who shares your blood. Family is who shows up." My mother immediately accused me of humiliating the family. Travis demanded to know what they were supposed to receive. But there was nothing left. The trusts were already established. The land was already transferred. The foundation was already funded. Everything important was protected. They had waited years for me to become valuable. But they had arrived too late. Eventually, they were escorted from the property. That night, I sat on the porch beside Ruth beneath the same blue quilt that had once covered my babies at that gas station. My children joined us. Across the field, Juniper grazed beside her young granddaughter, a beautiful mare with the same crooked leg everyone once considered a weakness. Looked at them and realized something. The thing everyone else had rejected had become the foundation of my entire life. My parents once closed their door because they thought I was a burden. Ruth and Walt opened theirs without asking what I could give them. That is the difference between people who share your blood and people who truly love you. Today, I no longer need my parents' approval. My children are protected. Walt and Ruth have their home. My foundation helps people who are standing where I once stood, and I finally understand that my greatest revenge was never making my family regret abandoning me. It was building a life so beautiful that I stopped caring whether they regretted it at all. Sometimes, the door that closes in your face is not the end of your story. Sometimes it is the door that forces you to find the people who are always meant to let you in.